Hi guys, welcome to Book Time. My name is Julia. Today I'm going to be doing my version of the under further consideration tag, which I believe was started by Sarah at Hardcover Hearts, and then I was tagged by Shawn. So I'll link both of their videos below. They're really interesting and it's a really cool tag. So basically, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I took a lot of notes for this one so I don't forget things. You choose 3 different time periods and then you answer a bunch of questions. I think there are only 3 questions. Shawn did a bonus question, but I don't think I answered it. Soz. So the first question is a book you were too generous about with your ratings. The second one is a book that you think you underrated. And the third one is a book that stayed with you in some way. Oh no, I did do the 4th bonus one. What is a bail that you might try again? And so like Shawn, I have chosen 2016, 2017 and 2018 as my 3 time periods, and so for each of those years I'll give an answer. So the first question again, what is a book that you were possibly too generous in with your praise or rating when you read it? So for 2016, I think it was probably Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. To be honest, I'll just say before I go into it, I found this tag quite difficult actually because I agreed with most of my ratings, or often I'll go back and change ratings when I'm just, if a book pops into my mind, I'm like, you know what, I didn't like it as much as I thought. One of those ones was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I think originally I gave it 4 stars and then I moved it down to 3, and maybe I've even moved it down to 2, or I could move it down to 2. I think when I first read it, I read it in one sitting and it was such a page turner that, you know, I was like, oh, this is great, because I couldn't put it down. I wanted to find out what happened. But it wasn't till upon further reflection, I was like, you know what? I don't feel like the characterization was very good of either the kids in it, but mainly of Harry, Ron and Hermione as adults. It's like, I don't know if they would turn out like this, or if they do, there's not a whole lot of explanation as to why. And I know that it's designed to be a performance, and that a lot of, you know, I haven't seen it, I hope to, but basically all I've heard is that the performance is amazing. And so obviously it's designed to be a visual spectacle rather than just read on the page. I understand that. But upon reading it, the more and more I think about it, I'm like, it wasn't great. 2017, the book I was too generous with was probably Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis, the memoir of Anthony Kiedis from the Chili Peppers. I gave it 2 stars. Probably could have given it 1 star. I bought it when I was like, I don't know, 18 or something, when it first came out, because I was obsessed with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I still really like a lot of their music. I play drums, and so Chad Smith, their drummer, I used to really love all of his funk beats, which I feel like he doesn't do as complex beats as he used to. But anyway, that's a separate conversation. But basically, I finally read it like 12 years after the fact, and I was like, this is so sexist and just recounts his sexual exploits with much younger women. And he's like, oh, I was bad, I was on drugs. And I'm like, you know what, this is not all it was cracked up to be. Could probably go down a star to 1. But again, like I said, I usually agree with most of my ratings, so there's nothing particularly shocking about me realizing that. So 2018, the book, I actually have the hard copy here, that I thought I might have overrated was Beneath the Mother Tree by D.M. Cameron. I think I gave this 4 stars and quite a glowing review. I did enjoy it, but to be honest, I can't remember much about it now. When I was scrolling through Goodreads for this tag, I was like, I don't even know what this was about. And I remember there being some really cool, I feel like I will follow this author through her through further books that she may publish, because there were some really cool moments in it, and like there's this scene at the end with all these insects, and it was cool. But and I thought her characterization was quite good, but to be honest, I can't actually remember much of what it was about. So yeah, I'd probably push it down to 3, because I remember liking it, but I can't tell you any details about it. So I feel like that's not very interesting. Oh yeah, it's set on, not Norfolk Island, no. It's set on an island off the coast of northern Australia, tropical area, and it's sort of about the Irish folklore of the main character's grandparents, but also the Indigenous folklore. And then she meets a boy who her mum thinks is a fairy. Turns out her mum has really bad mental illness. So yeah, there's quite a lot of interesting stuff going on. And by the end, the vibe is quite sinister. But yeah, it's probably more of a 3 than a 4. So the second book, what is a book that you think you underrated and could have rated higher? So the first one is The Trick is to Keep Breathing by Janice Galloway. I've got the vintage edition. She's a Scottish writer, one of my faves, and this was her first novel, I think, or her first book, and it reminded me a lot of Girl Interrupted. This was actually published before Girl Interrupted, and I feel like it was kind of inspiration for a lot of those female mental health memoirs that came out in the early 90s. This was published in the 80s. And it's written in a really interesting way, like really unconventional stanzas and then like some italics. It's got all sorts of crazy fonts all through it, and it's supposed to represent, and it's like journal entries, dialogue, different points of view, supposed to represent her train of thought. She's like a recovering alcoholic and grieving, and maybe has mental health issues too. I can't quite remember, but I think I gave it 3 stars because I was comparing it to some of her later work, which was 5 stars for me. And I was like, this isn't as good as her later work. But the more I think about it, I'm like, no, it was really good. And you wouldn't expect an author's book from 20 or 30 years ago to be as good as the stuff they're writing today, because you want them to develop and grow. So yeah, I would probably bump this up to a 4 because I'll definitely read it again. And it was a really interesting depiction of female desire and mental illness, and just point of view, I suppose, that was looked down upon and hadn't been allowed a voice in literature. So I feel like it's quite groundbreaking in that way as well. In 2017, the book I would bump up a star or 2 was The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. I think at the time I gave it 3 stars, but over the years I have not forgotten it, and I really want to read it again, and it has stayed with me. The characterization of the main woman, but particularly of Marin, the sister-in-law, and just the way that Jessie Burton revealed information about this such a complex character who was so bitter and mean in a lot of ways, but also incredibly kind and giving, and had suffered. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to cry. Like, I just thought it was so powerful, because initially you think the book is about finding out about the miniaturist. And to be honest, that thread of the storyline was probably why I gave it a low rating, because I thought, if you've read it, if you haven't read it, don't worry about this. But basically, I thought the storyline about the miniaturist didn't need to be there, because it was more about the women's relationship than the miniaturist stuff. But once I realized it was about the women, I was like, this is really cool. So I gave it a 3. I reckon I'd bump it to 4.5 and just knock that half star off because I didn't love the miniaturist storyline resolution. But apart from that, yeah, really cool. Such good descriptions and historical research. Haven't read any of her other stuff, but really, really want to. And I've got The Muse, I think, and I know, is it The Confessions? That's her new one that I really want to read soon. Anyway, I'll definitely bump that one up. And sorry, I keep looking down. I'm just checking my notes. Oh, a book I think I underrated. Now this kind of, I don't know if I underrated it, but I think about it a lot. And it's The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I didn't love it. I know it was the book of the year for so many people, and I think Simon loved it and Mercedes, and I know my friend Natalie loves it. It annoyed me. The writing style is obviously beautiful and impeccable, and her scene setting was so rich, and the characterization was great. Like, I can still remember all the individual personalities of all the main characters. I can visualize the settings of the different places, and the marshes and the water sort of estuary. I don't know what you call it over there, but the black water. Sorry, I'm just getting pins and needles. That has all really stayed with me. So I'm like, should I have given it a higher star? Because I've never forgotten that book, and I still don't know what I think about it. But the relationship between the main 2 characters enraged me so much, because I just found them incredibly self-absorbed. And I know it was about exploring like forbidden desires and stuff, but I was like, you guys are hurting so many people and you don't care. And I didn't even feel like the book cared that much. Anyway, I'm still very conflicted about it. But I'm like, maybe it deserved a higher rating because it's affected me this much, even though there was a lot about it that annoyed me and that I didn't like. Because you don't have to always like books for them to be powerful, I think. Anyway, yeah. That kind of blends into the next question, which is, what is a book that has stayed with you in some way? And so for 2018, I would definitely say The Essex Serpent for all those reasons. For 2016, I have said Three Craws by James Yorkston, a Scottish writer, which I've talked about so many times on this channel. It's just from a small independent, I think it's from, I want to say it's from Freight. Is that the publisher published the Scottish independent press that closed down? It's now reopened and it's like controversial. Anyway. Yeah, I just bought that when I was in Oban and it was on the local authors table and it was awesome. It's just about a guy from rural Scotland who returns there after some time in the city and wants to reconnect with his old friends and is unemployed and reconnecting with his family. And it's just about like finding your place geographically and socially, and I feel like there's homoerotic undertones. It gets a bit weird by the end. Like, it's not perfect, but it's really like so warm in tone, and the writing style is awesome. I loved it. I think he's got a contract to publish another book and I can't wait till it comes out. And 2017, I said The Miniaturist as well. I feel like this is not a very interesting tag for me because I'm just repeating myself. But yeah, the book that stayed with me from 2017 would be The Miniaturist. Which I didn't expect at the time. And I love it when that happens, when you finish a book and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And then years later you're like, no, that has really, like, I still think about it a lot for the reasons I just spoke about. Hopefully I'll reread it soon. Yeah. Now the final question that I think Shawn added as like a bonus question is, what is a bail that you might try again? So 2016, I can't remember. I didn't actually record. I recorded the books I'd read, but I didn't record books I'd bailed on. So don't know. 2017, none. Or can't remember as well. Again, not a very interesting answer. But there were two from last year. One was not Philip K. Dick, Philip Pullman's. Sorry, Philip Pullman. Because the reason I said Philip K. Dick is because the other book is I Love Dick by Chris Kraus. So yeah, Philip Pullman, the third one in his Dark Materials trilogy. I listened to it on audio and it was just so long and complicated with 10,000 different storylines and so much description about the alternate worlds that I got really confused. So I bailed on the audio, but at some point I will pick up the hard copy again, probably whenever I decide to reread the trilogy in full. And yeah, I Love Dick by Chris Kraus. I didn't finish it. I found it, so it's a semi autobiographical work about Chris Kraus herself and these erotic sort of love letters she starts writing to Dick Hevditch, who is a real person. He's a cultural critic, best known for his work on subcultures, but he's also done a bunch of other stuff. And I found it too abstract and intellectual a lot of the time. Baby crying? Dunno. This is the last question anyway. Yeah, it still didn't grab me, but I feel like it's so popular and beloved, like maybe I should try it again. Like maybe I was missing something. Maybe I need to do some more reading about it or talk to some friends who've read it. If you've read it, let me know what you think. Or if you've read any of her other books, because I haven't read any of her other stuff either and I really want to because I know she's so beloved. Anyway, that wraps up my under further consideration tag. He's definitely crying. All my videos going to end like this now. Okay, I'm going to go. Catch you soon. I tag anyone who wants to do this. Bye, guys.